Hey guys!
Hey!
How are you? We're gonna wait for a few more people to get in here. We're still waiting for our special guest tonight. So we are starting just a couple minutes early, just so we can get this going and get as many people pulled into the chat and to the live as possible. So mods for you, we got just to give you guys a backstory. We're bringing. Oh, send Jonathan. I forgot to send Jonathan the link.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry. We forgot one of our members. We're horrible. So there we go. At any rate, we're just going to give you guys a little bit of backstory. This is Kylen Schulte and Crystal Turner's case. Mm-hmm. Many of you guys know that we went out to Moab, Utah, and did some digging on this case. These women were beautiful souls.
Yes.
You want to just tell, a little bit about their backstory?
Yes. So we went to Moab back in November, and we are close with Diane, who is Crystal Turner's cousin. And, the girls, everyone that we met in Moab, everyone had beautiful, amazing things to say about them. And it's just very upsetting. It's tragic that, what happened to them, and that the fact that the person who did this is on the run or just loose, living their life with no consequences. And that's just totally unacceptable. And we went out to Moab and tried to find answers. We talked to friends, locals. We tried to gather as many leads as possible so that we could help in any way that we could to find out who did this. So someone can be held accountable for this, because it's horrible, heartbreaking.
Yeah. And so when we did a lot of interviews, these girls, everybody loved these girls. But when we were starting the investigative process, we looked at a lot of things, including the fact that they were an LGBTQ couple. Mm-hmm. And, we thought maybe that might've had something to do with it. Jonathan is now here. Let me pull him in. Hey, Jonathan.
Hi, good evening, ladies. How you guys doing?
Good. We're still waiting for the special guest to arrive. So we're just giving the audience a backstory, related to this case while we wait for Jensen and Sean Paul Schulte, which is Kylen Schulte's father.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So we're just waiting for them to come over. In the meantime, as you guys know, Crystal Turner and Kylen Schulte both were last seen on August 13th of this year, and they were found August 18th by a friend at their campsite in Moab. So what's extremely crucial and important is we need video footage from August 10th until the 18th. Anything, dash cams. If you know anyone that was in the area, they need to check their phones. It's just important,
cell phone cams, anything, any cameras from homes going onto the South Road, cameras anywhere. It's crucial at this point.
Mm-hmm. Very, very crucial.
So we're just going to be asking them questions. So while we wait for our special guest to get on here, we're just going to discuss the case. What all we did while we were out there. I think for me, and you guys can agree or disagree, I think one of the most perplexing things to me was the lack of signs, lack of posters, the lack of any information that these young women, this double homicide even took place in Moab, Utah. And I think that was most concerning, because when we went to, say, Rogersville, Tennessee, and was doing Summer Wells, the issue, we saw her everywhere, literally everywhere, across 2 different counties.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, usually in small communities, the communities come together and, they distribute signs, whether it's billboards, on telephone poles, light bulbs, at all the businesses. We didn't see that in Moab. And Moab is not a big city, or, it's just a little town of 5,500 people. Mm-hmm. We didn't see any. Most smaller communities, when there is a tragedy like an unsolved murder, the whole community in general will put up signs, flyers, posters, billboards, anything possible to bring awareness to the situation.
Okay. We just got Jason Jensen just arrived. We're going to be waiting for Sean Paul. So let's go ahead and bring him into the studio now, and we'll start talking about the case and kind of give him the floor. He's
check your email.
Jason Jensen. Thank you for coming on to the Bullhorn Betty show. Olivia.
Hi.
Chronicles of Olivia. I'm Bullhorn Betty, and JLR just there he is.
Hi, Mr. Jensen. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Call me Jason. I think we've talked enough. I feel like we all can talk on first name basis.
Yeah,
absolutely. And thank you for taking the time and coming on and sharing and discussing this tragedy in this case.
Yeah, it's my pleasure and honor. I've seen some of your guys' work. You're very creative and daring. So be careful out there. I saw that last encounter down there on the Wells matter. Don't get yourself shot.
It's funny that you say that, because I think you can agree, when you're out, you put yourself in harm's way for these cases, and to be honest with you, the stories that we had received, we were really, in all fairness, prepared to be shot.
We were
when we went out there, but it didn't deter us. We knew that this, the work we're doing is for many of us is a calling, and we try to do our best and do the hardest work possible. So I'm going to give you the floor a little bit. If you want to just tell us about the case, what you guys need help with, any information that you think will be beneficial that, our guests in here will be able to help with, or, anything that you want out there,
Sure.
We're giving the platform to you. And when Sean Paul gets on here, we'll let him talk. We just kind of gave a little bit of a backstory, letting people know, Kylen and Crystal, everybody loved her.
Right. Yeah. There really wasn't anybody in town that you can point a finger to that disliked them as a couple. So, really to say that somebody local was out to get him is pretty much a stretch. I mean, maybe there's somebody out there and they've not let that information out. Somebody doesn't know about it, but you really get the impression that they were well liked by everybody that actually knew them. So if there was a hatred towards them, it might have been because they're closet homophobic, but I don't see that yet. And I don't explore motive until we have a suspect.
Right. And actually, when we were out there, they seemed very accepting of their relationship.
Oh, 100%. That's Moab. Moab is probably the most Democrat, most liberal city in Utah. It's because they have that organic mentality, and they're, out in the wild, and, it's the furthest you can be to an urban setting is Moab.
That's for sure.
And so, Jason, why did you decide to take this case pro bono?
Oh, because I appeared on an episode of Court TV talking about this case, and given the fact that I'm a Utah licensed investigator, I felt if anyone out there in the country could help, I have the credentials to help. So I reached out to the aunt, and I offered my services, and she got me in touch with Kylen's father, and so I just went from there.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. So you've been out to Moab how many times? Because you're from the Salt Lake area, I believe.
I'm from Salt Lake. I've been down there a couple of weeks overall over the last couple of months. Most of the bulk of the work was done right away, and anytime I have to go do a follow-up, it doesn't require lengthy stays down there, because a lot of the stuff I do is similar to what you guys and others are doing, and that is over the phone, over Facebook and things like that. And it's always helpful to have other alternatives to actually being there, renting $300 a night hotel room.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you don't mind,
you
Sean Paul just got in the backstage. I'm just going to bring him up. Just give me just a moment. Hi, Mr. Schulte. How are you doing?
Hi, Sean Paul.
Hi, Sean.
Hey, girls and boys. Hey, everybody.
Paul.
Hey, JJ. How you doing?
Good.
Yeah,
So, I'm Andrea, Bullhorn Betty, Olivia, Chronicles of Olivia, Jonathan.
Thanks, Jonathan. Very nice to meet you,
Oh,
sir.
I know.
Nice to meet you.
I know who you all are.
Very good.
I've
Thank you
been
for taking the time coming on.
Absolutely.
absolutely. I really appreciate what all you have been doing as a group, as a collective group. I really appreciate you guys helping kind of push this to the forefront of people's minds and kind of helping us spread the word, so hopefully we can trigger a memory of someone maybe who has dash cam or saw a weirdo or finds us that particular 9mm that leads us to the bad guy. But yeah, thanks for having me, you guys, and thanks for doing this. I haven't listened to anything that you guys said. I just came on, so
Yeah.
I don't know
So we
what
were
all
just
I've missed.
explaining, Kylen and Crystal being, free spirited, lovely people. Nobody said anything bad about them. Everything that we heard about them was just, wonderful. They were wonderful girls. And,
Right.
we want to help any way we can to help solve this. We just want to give you the platform to tell people what you need. I know the time changed on, we were looking for a photography, stills and videography. We were looking at a certain time frame. I think it was the 12th through the 18th, and now we've moved that back. We're looking now for the 10th and 11th as well.
Yeah.
Right. Because of the way that the girls described the creeper coming back. And I believe that possibly he wasn't even there Friday afternoon when they got ready to go to town, or they probably would have moved. It probably would have been during the daylight Friday afternoon. They were getting ready to go down to town to goof off with their friends, and he wasn't around, so they felt pretty good about getting ready and leaving their bunny rabbit behind and going into town. But I think maybe he came back right as they were leaving, and then they decided, well, hell, let's just go to town anyway and not worry. So I think maybe that might have been what happened there was. And so we don't know if it was Friday that he came back, or if he had left Thursday, or if he was there Wednesday and came back Thursday. It's hard to tell because the girls were so vague. But I think it's pretty simple for us to move those dates forward a couple days just to make sure that we, possibly catch that car in that video.
Sean Paul, was that the spot where they were found? Is that a spot they normally frequent, or did they just choose that recently to go there at that particular location?
They would camp there often. So here's what the girls would do, okay, you guys. They would camp at Pack Creek, and then after about 2 weeks, whether they waited for the lady to come by and run them off or not, they pretty much knew that every 14 days they had to relocate. So from Pack Creek, they would go to like Elk Camp or Bear Camp. And then from there, they would go somewhere up on the top of Sand Flats Road by where those big rocks are up at the top of Sand Flats Road. And that would get them 2, 4, 6, that would cover a 6-week period. So then they'd go back to Pack Creek and start all over again. But Pack Creek was, yes, and Pack Creek was their favorite. And what happened this year was Pack Creek burnt down. The whole Pack Creek area got roasted in a bad fire. Some people left a campfire going unattended, and it almost took out a whole bunch of houses at the bottom of Pack Creek, which is a rural hiking and camping and mountain bike area. It's kind of like over by where the girls' camp was. There's another little tiny, nice neighborhood there. And all those houses almost got roasted, but that fire went up the hill. And it took out their, number one, bestest, favoriteest campsite out of the rotation. So, Jonathan, to answer your question, now all of a sudden they're staying at Bear Camp even more often. because they're just ping ponging back from bear camp to Sand Flats and then back to bear camp and then back to Sand Flats because their other spot was toast. It got fried up. So yeah, they stayed there probably, 100 times.
So a lot of people, we're on Twitter a lot, and, we're constantly hashtagging your daughter's name and Crystal's name. And, a lot of people claim that they were also up in Warner Lake. Were they ever camping up at Warner Lake that you know about?
Oh, of course. It's real easy for people to get confused on this, okay? Basically, what they were doing was they were kind of camping all around that area. And what I mean by that was the girls would go right up to Warner Lake and view the lake and holler echoes across the lake or sit in a hammock, swing in a hammock because there's trees up at the lake so they could set up their hammock. So the girls would go up to Warner Lake for an hour or two picnic and just have fun, hang out up there. And then as you come down Warner Lake Road, it takes you right back to bear camp. So, I mean, I'll give you an example. When the sheriffs went up to Warner Lake to look for the girls initially, when they sent the pickup truck up to Warner Lake to look for the girls, they were so close. They were so close when they came down Warner Lake and they turned left to go back to town. Had they turned right and just looked to their left, I mean, they were so close to the girls. They really were. So, so the girls were, even the sheriffs were misled by the girls' friends. Well, hell, they told us they were at Warner Lake, but the thing is, what they actually probably told them was we're at the bottom of Warner Lake Road.
Yeah. The
girls just thought, they said something about Warner Lake.
Yeah, we went up there too. When we originally went from Moab, up the LaSalle Mountain Loop Road, before we went to, as far as up to Whispering Oaks, we went to Warner Lake first, and we took that dirt road and we went all the way up. It's beautiful up there, and like you described, there's lots of trees, the beautiful lake. We saw a cabin there that could be rented. We saw a few campers, we saw the campsites relatively close to one another, and that's our thought was maybe, they saw somebody there that followed them down to that new site where they were, found at.
Oh, yeah, I think that the creeper could have easily followed them down Warner Lake Road, but, I think that the creeper just so happened, I mean, unless we find out some kind of intel that tells us that he knew the girls or he knew them from Moonflower or it was, Crystal Stalker or someone from the past. I mean, to me, it almost seems like this creeper guy just randomly stopped off the side of the road at a relatively close to the pavement dispersed campsite and just so happened to be near the girls, and then maybe heard the girls hooting and hollering or goofing around, or maybe he had howled, but everything was kind of fine up until the point where this guy moved too close to the girls, and then it got uncomfortable.
Right.
And then it was like we could see what he's, we could see that he has food and clothes, tells me he was that close to where they could see that he came back with food and clothing. Yeah. Howling, a howl might still be pretty far away for a camp, because where we are up there, as you saw, it is a place to holler echoes and hoot and make exclamations of woo-hoo, this is the greatest place on earth. So hooting and howling is pretty typical up there. The girls and myself did that all the time. Yeah. Now the creeper howled, Crystal howled, the creeper howled. They might have kind of hooted and howled at each other, and in some weird way, I think that might have accidentally called the creeper in closer.
Yeah.
I don't know, but that might have been a mistake. Just being up there goofing around and hooting and hollering might have reeled him in a little bit, and then he might have realized he's dealing with two women that he thought he could overpower, and he decided to set up camp there. And at some point, maybe he left to leave because he didn't want to do anything, but then maybe he couldn't get the girls out of his mind. He came back.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Sean Paul, what does your gut tell you? Do you think they were murdered at night or in the day?
Oh, I think it was, my gut tells me that they were ambushed while they were still in bed. So while they were still in the tent. So that means that these two newlyweds could have been partially clothed on their own accord. In fact, the creeper might have even heard or saw something sensual or sexual or something that made him want to creep in closer and spy on these girls, or at one point the girls were in their hammock in the bunch of trees, and they actually saw this guy creep through their camp. Wow. So, I mean, they saw the shape of him, they saw the size of him, and, I'll be damned if that night he wasn't probably going to do something bad right then and there, but he didn't see the girls in the tent, and they didn't make a peep. They were in the hammock, and they watched him creep through their campsite,
So at the beginning, you were saying that we moved or you guys moved the dates back to the 10th and 11th to see if we could see the vehicle. Are you referring to the blue car?
No. The blue car was something that Cindy Sue saw go by immediately after she found the girls. She was on the phone with me, and I said, "Are they there yet?" referring to authorities. And she said, "No, just a guy going by in a little car." And I said, well, wait a minute. What's his license plate number? And she had said, crap, I didn't even think of that, Sean Paul. But he didn't stop. And here I am with my flashers on, and I'm crying, and I'm frantically pacing back and forth, crying with my flashers on, and he just slowed down and looked at me and then cruised right on by. So it could have been anyone. It could have even been someone looking for the girls. I don't know, but this car went by, and Cindy Sue has tried to remember the car. We've showed her all kinds of makes and models of vehicles, and she just can't seem to place what the vehicle looks like. All she could really tell me was the back windows were smaller than the front window from the side profile.
Gotcha.
And that he looked like a whiter complexion guy with darker hair, facial hair, she thought possibly. But there's no way for me to know if that was, a guy, people drive by on that road all the time. It was nasty weather. It was kind of rainy, but still there was people going by, tourists. There was people mountain biking. She said she thought there was a rack either on the top or the back bumper of the vehicle, like as if, it was someone going up there with camping gear or something.
And Jason, I've got a question for you. How has your experience been working with the Grand County Sheriff? I know it's I'm familiar that it's more of a one-way street. You probably give them probably 99.9% more than they would ever give to you. And so how has that relationship been, if you'd explain?
It's as expected. I've dealt with law enforcement in Utah hundreds and hundreds of times. This is no exception. When it's a warm case, cold case, it makes no difference. Anytime that we get information, we give it to them. It's a one-way street. They rarely get back to us. You can send them an email. You won't even get gratitude, like thank you, because you gave them a lead. So that's common. And I'm sure everybody that has sent a lead on this case gets that same kind of lack of response from them. But it's common. And every now and then you get some tidbit of information if it's definitive, like, no, that person's not a suspect. No, that person's not, of any interest. No, that person was out of the area. They're not going to give you a lot of detail. They're not going to give you a narrative. You're not going to see supplemental reports because it's a live investigation. Their go-to response is, if you do a records request, that this is an active investigation and any information they divulge may compromise the integrity of the investigation. And we respect that because we don't want to compromise that integrity. We would rather see a conviction rather than have a momentary feel good because we took up 20 minutes of their time. Personally, I'd rather see that 20 minutes devoted to the case than giving me an update.
Right. Oh, I completely understand.
I saw you nodding your head in agreement, Sean Paul. Is that the same? Like, is law enforcement? Do they correspond with you? Do you share
Jonathan,
information?
it's 100%. This is exactly why so many clues came into my clue booth. Okay, the reason why, I'll tell you exactly what happened. Someone called in a clue. Nobody said thank you. Nobody said good job. Nobody ever said we're going to follow up on this clue. Certainly nobody would call you back and say, oh, thanks, Joe Blow. Good job on giving us a piece of evidence. It just doesn't happen. So then what happens is the person feels like the sheriffs didn't listen. They're not doing anything. So it's the breakdown between the authorities and the tippers. It happens immediately, right upon them making the tip. They get no response. They get no thank you. Nobody tells them they're going to take action, and nobody ever says anything like, and by the way, if you remember any additional info, call us with the same tip. But if you remember additional info, by God, call us back. Nobody ever says any of that.
Right.
So 2 weeks later, the same person wanders over to my picnic table and says, hey, I have a tip. And I'm like, well, the first thing I asked them when they told me they had a tip was if they wanted to call the Grand County Sheriff's Office or if they wanted me to call the Grand County Sheriff's Office. But that's what's going to happen with this tip is I'm going to immediately, in fact, I was texting them to the sheriff as they were telling me the information because it's super time sensitive information in my opinion. So now they tell me a tip and then they tell me, well, I already told this to the sheriffs. And then I'm like, oh God. All right.
Yeah.
So now we're repeating tips.
Yeah, it's a lack of coordination.
We're taking up twice as much as everybody's time because we're repeating tips. Well, guess what? I would tell the people thank you. I would give them a hug. I would tell them, I hope your weirdo's my weirdo and we can all go home and sleep one of these nights. I would tell the tipper thank you. I would tell him I'm going to take action on your tip. And I would tell him if you remember anything else, especially if it's something like a license plate number, an eye color, or a make or model of a vehicle, if there's some legitimate reason to call me back and add to this tip, please do. And so then they would feel like somebody listened. And that's it. That's all. The only secret that law enforcement is missing out on with having a better relationship with the entire communities all across the whole world is all they have to do is tell the tipper, thank you, we're listening, and call back if you have more info, and we're going to take action. And maybe even say something like, look, I just want to let you know that we've already got this tip, so you're not expecting a check for 20 grand in the mail tomorrow. And communicate, for God's sakes, and let them know what they're going to do, and that they're going to take action. And then, because see, now what happens is they've called the sheriff's office, then they waited a week, and then they tried to leave the tip on the FBI thing. Oh my God, it took me 30 minutes to make a tip on the FBI tip line. And certainly no one answers or calls you back. So then,
and not only that, Sean Paul, not to cut you off, but the FBI tip line, you have to put all your personal information down for them to take you seriously. And some people don't like to do that. They don't want to put their name and date of birth.
That's one of the reasons. It's one of the reasons why the clue booth worked, was because they didn't want to talk to a police officer. I mean, the people that came to my clue booth were not necessarily the kind of people that would just call the sheriff and make a tip.
Right.
Some of the people that came to my clue booth, and that's the reason why I think it's so important, is because some of those kinds of people are the kinds of people that might have the best information.
Exactly.
So what the hell, let's utilize this whole concept of giving them a venue where they could. I mean, the only thing I had when they left was a white card with the tip on it that I called into law enforcement. So they didn't have a threat of, you know, even though I tipped off my own grandpa, because I mean, the tips were blowing me away. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm tipping off my own grandpa saying, I think he's the killer and he's going to kill me too. And I'm like, oh my God, this has got to be our guy. But everybody has their own weirdo, and hopefully one of these weirdos will be our weirdo.
So, you know, it's kind of, it's actually ironic you say that, because it kind of dovetails into another question that I was just thinking about, you know, is when we went out there to look, it was the amount of people. I think we had 5 people on a list. By the time there was like 30. This is a classic whodunit. There was.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Adding more versus removing people.
And we're still getting more. I mean, Jason and I just got an absolutely smoking hot tip 2 days ago.
Good.
So obviously you guys took that to law enforcement, correct?
Immediately, when Jason and I had an agreement a long time ago, and that's why we are willing to work with each other, is because he knows that no matter what, I want to be 100% transparent with the people who are trying to solve my case. Grand County Sheriff's Office, the Utah State, and the FBI. Okay, I mean, I think that Jason and I realize that we can't solve the case. They have to. And I think the general public needs to realize that too. Every armchair detective and person on the internet needs to realize that Jason and I aren't going to go make an arrest.
Right.
That's not what we're here for. We're here to try to make sure that the authorities know about every damn creeper that's remotely even close to our deal, who possibly is a 9mm kind of guy, you know, like this creep in Cortez. There's a guy with a 9mm. Okay, did Brian Laundrie have a 9mm? We don't think so. Did Jason Colt have a 9mm? We haven't seen one yet, but like this jerk in Colorado, he had one, so he's my hottest guy right now on my radar, is a creep. with a 9mm. You know, I mean, this guy, I think he shot his own wife. So, I mean, he must, if you're willing to shoot your own, it's just like Brian. People say, do you think Brian could do it? If he's willing to kill his own fiance, why would he not be willing to kill a perfect stranger? Of course, he has that level of malice in his makeup. Okay.
So recently, Sean Paul, I have seen you in some of the Facebook groups posting about Brian Laundrie the last few days. Are you open-minded that he could be involved still, or you just want to know?
I 100% am. I mean, if I had DNA or fingerprints or whatever the hell the authorities have, maybe I could look you guys right in the face and say, hell no, it's not Brian Laundrie. But I don't have any of those. I don't have DNA. I don't have fingerprints. I don't even know what the hell they have. You know, I know they have ballistics because we saw the silver bullets and we read about the silver casings and the warrant and all that stuff. So they have ballistics, and then I know they have something that they're ruling people out with, but they're not telling us, because then they think that I'll tell my sister and I'll tell my mom and we'll all tell you and everybody will tell everybody, you know, which is kind of BS. I know I'm a mouthpiece, but I also know that I took in 50 clues and turned them in with confidence, and I wasn't ever putting those names out there because I want that guy to fry.
Absolutely. Is there any, okay, so basically, you know, we're now in a new year. It's been 5 months almost now, almost 5 months. I mean, how are you feeling about this? Do you have confidence in the law enforcement still? How are you feeling as days go by without any answers?
Well, it's, for me, 1 day is too long. I mean, I'm the father, I'm the ultimate victim. Any parent who has ever lost a child, which, you know, I don't want any of you guys, I don't want my worst enemy to know what that feels like. But, you know, for me, 1 day is too long. Okay. So after the second day, I'm like, what the hell's wrong with these Keystone cops around here? Okay. So, I mean, I'm the first one to talk shit about the police after 1 day. But then I realized that I got the FBI lady telling me, look, Sean Paul, you better start getting used to the whole idea that this could take over a year. And I'm like, no, don't tell me that. I'm the father of these. Don't tell me it's going to take over a year. But now I've come to realize, guess what? Guess why the authorities don't freak out on every clue? Guess why investigators take emotion out of their interviews? Guess why I can tell you exactly why, because I'm now leathered up. I'm now hardened. I could sit there now and have people tell me the craziest things in the world, and I don't even have a heart attack anymore. It's not right. So I will not be a detective. I'm not going to go into Jason's field by any means. I don't know how anyone could sit there and have a heart attack every time people tell them a clue. But I do know that if an investigator or a detective, if it ever happened to their family, you know, they might want to take themselves out of the equation and let their comrades figure it out, because it's a difficult position to be in.
Yeah.
Jason, and it may be Sean Paul, you might have you know, a thought on this. Do we know if you don't have to elaborate on what's been provided, but do we know if we have, you know, forensics back at all on this? Anything, you know, yes or no? If you want to elaborate, you can. If there's yes and you don't want to elaborate, that's perfectly fine. But do we know?
That's the worst kind of information they would never share with us, because that is what convicts somebody. So if they're not even willing to say thank you for the tip, they're not telling us, oh, guess what? We got 5 profiles of great DNA. No,
yeah, they don't
do that with us.
There's no way that they're gonna. No, sorry, you guys.
I know people are asking. Yep. And the other question was Brian Laundrie. You know, everybody's always, you know, because we did there's confirmation that, you know, the girls did witness the altercation in front of the Moonflower, and of course with him killing Gabby.
You want to know, here's something interesting to me, is that people say, oh, no way, the girls didn't see them fighting. What are you talking about? The girls would pick each other up at work, sit in the right in between the Moonflower and the restaurant where the alley is, facing right across the street where Brian and Gabby were on their online for the morning trying to post their stuff at the coffee shop. People say no, Kylen, and if they saw it, why wouldn't they call the police? Well, here's another thing. This is like, you guys were there. I mean, there's the post offices right there.
Yeah.
There's hundreds and thousands of cars and people going by right there. And for Kylen, for Crystal to come and scoop Kylen up after work, and for them to sit in the van and not leave until after the fireworks, you know, they're watching this couple fight. But I also could see Kylen and or Crystal saying something like, and I said this 5 months ago, Kylen and Crystal would be the first ones to holler across the street, hey, jackass, this is Moab, peace and love, dude.
Yeah.
Something like that, you know. So
Exactly.
I believe they saw, and what they told their friend was they saw him punch a girl. They didn't know it was Brian, and they didn't know it was Gabby.
Yeah.
They didn't know who it was. I will tell you this. If they thought it was the creeper that they had just seen the night before up at their camp,
Yeah.
they probably would have said, it's that effing gorilla right there. So
Right.
I don't think it was Brian. I mean, the more and more Jason and I do these interviews and I talk it through, and he explains to me what's logic and what is fantasy, the more I come to the realization that a whole bunch of bad guys cross paths all the freaking time.
Yeah, it's quite ironic, if you will, that, you know, these four did cross paths, and unfortunately within 30 days they're all deceased within 30 days apart. It was
Now there is one thing I kind of want to mention about Brian and Gabby before we change the subject, and that is that I also believe, like Gabby's father believes, that there needs to be an equality of coverage, not based on sexual preference, color, religion, how affluent you are in the community, how much money you have. I want it to be equally across all boards, just like an Amber Alert does when a kid comes up missing and it says, hey, there's a white pickup with this license plate number. We got a little guy with brown eyes and black hair, and we got a teenage girl, and here's the number, and here's the car, and we think that the dad took kids that the mom has custody of, or whatever the heck it is. That kind of Amber Alert coverage, that's kind of like the level that Gabby and Brian got. That was way up here of instant, amazing coverage around the country and the world. The girls' coverage is down here. You know, you have a black girl who comes up missing, she's down here. You have a Native American girl who comes up missing. Sorry, but look, she's not even on the chart. I mean, I lived on a reservation for 10 years where sometimes the most publicity they get is a cousin tells a cousin that someome's missing. That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's incredible.
In our career as well, exactly what you said.
Yeah.
I mean, we have experienced it.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, Sean Paul, because, like, I'll be honest, we didn't know about these murders here until Brian and Gabby in November.
Well, that's most of the people in the country fell off of the Brian and Gabby case and kind of landed in our lap. And now that the Brian and Gabby case is coming to a close, now we're blessed to have so many people interested in the girls' case. And so, yeah, you know, Brian and Gabby kind of helped me in a way, in an indirect way. It's all a sad, crappy thing, but I mean, you know, in order for this news to get around the world, that's the kind of coverage we need, because people that have left Moab, that were in Moab in August, they've gone all around home, all the way around the world. And they might not know this happened while they were there. Nobody knew it happened while they were there. I mean, think about it. The girls were found 5 days later. Nobody knew it happened when they were there. So everybody left. Everybody except for the 3,000 people in town who were all frantically running around, bouncing off each other, trying to figure out which one of us did it. But everyone else left and went back around the world. Well, now we need to get them all to look back over their shoulder and say, wait a minute, we were in Moab on August 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th. You know, even if the girls were killed on the 14th, they might have seen the creeper on the 11th.
Right.
Hell, they don't know. All they know is they were driving by Loop Road, recording their dash cam, and a car pulled off. They don't even know what road the car pulled off of. They don't even know what they're watching. So that's kind of some of the details that I try to let people know. Let people know all around the world it was right on that Forestry Road, 4651. Just barely off the pavement, you guys. I mean, if you were filming the sunset, let's say you were driving Loop Road and your dash cam or your phone is filming the sunset,
It's facing west.
And you're just rolling by, well, you might have actually captured footage of the girls' camp, which is just kind of over a little knoll, but you could see it if you knew what you were looking for. I mean, I saw a bunch of you guys there actually at the site. People know what I'm talking about. As you go by on Loop Road, you're slightly elevated and you can kind of look over all the low-lying bushes and you could kind of see vehicles over there, you know? And if someone's driving by just trying to show their family back in Mexico or Australia or England or wherever they're from, look at this sunset. We drove to the top of the world up on this road and look at this sunset, and then whoop, went right by is that little car.
Well, so just to clarify, hold on, Jonathan, just to clarify for everybody in this chat. So we are looking, if you guys know anybody that was in the Moab area between the 10th, that's August 10th of 2021 and August 18th of 2021, please look at any footage you have, any photography you have, especially if you were on LaSalle Loop Mountain Road.
Right. And then in order to find where you are on your footage, when you are at the bottom of Warner Lake Road, so you've just passed Uwa Lake Road that has that beautiful switchback where that creek and that canyon are. Then you go by Warner Lake Road. Then you see Whispering Oaks. You see what looks like a fancy neighborhood with a lodge above the hill. And then the very next easement, the very next dirt road to the left, right there. So, and the thing about it is, if you were up there and you were going to show your friends or family the view of the Canyonlands, the Colorado River arches from up on the mountain, the best spot to view that is right there where the girls were. I mean, there should be a giant parking lot right there. It's the best spot to view that.
Yeah.
And Sean, I'm sorry, Olivia, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna mention because we went there, but yeah, it is very beautiful, like where the girls were. That's
And Sean Paul, you mentioned Whispering Oaks Cabins. Have you been in any contact with, because Whispering Oaks Cabins is right there within eyesight. Have you been in contact with anybody? Because I know they had a wedding there around the same time.
I kind of want to maybe put this one to rest so that everybody kind of understands that I have spoken directly with the father of the bride. I have spoken directly with the mother of the bride. I have viewed hours of drone footage because they had a drone that was filming the beautiful young couple that was getting married. And I mean, you know, the drone footage would elevate above the couple and then do like a 360 and then come back down to the couple's level. And I was able to stop footage, viewing hours of footage from the cousin's drone, and stop the drone aimed at the girls' campsite.
Mm-hmm. One of our people were asking if there's any footage even back to July, high risk predator study areas for a while if local persons cleared. That's what you see on your screen. As I don't know what specifically that means. Maybe Jason, can you see it a little better? Can you answer that?
Or ask them if they can clarify, but I don't
can
know
see
for
the
sure.
question, but I'm not sure what they're talking about.
I don't either.
Video.
So, Sean Paul, when you say you viewed the footage and everything, did anybody from Whispering Oaks hear a shot, a gunshot, anything that
You know,
of?
we had heard that rumor, and I chased down that rumor. And to the best of my knowledge, I'm going to say no, they didn't. It blows me away that they didn't, because I would think that at any given minute, if 100 people were there, one of them had to be outside having a cigarette or something. But I don't think so. And when that rumor was hunted down, it was a local man that I knew, who's kind of an eccentric guy, and he had told me that he heard that news secondhand.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Yeah,
and on the footage, the drone footage, by the way, just so you guys know, you know, I was able to stop that footage, and I mean, I had a magnifying glass looking, and I couldn't see any vehicles at the campsite at the time of the wedding. So I believe that while that couple was there getting married at Whispering Oaks, not up at Warner Lake, not anywhere else, but right there at the lodge where it was set up, I think the creep was already gone. I think he already left. I think it happened in the middle of the night when the girls got back late Friday. Well, it would have been early Saturday morning. I think he had already viewed the girls. I believe he had already set up to ambush the girls. I don't know if he had some sick sexual fantasy that he was going to try to join in with the girls, but I believe that at the time of the drone footage that I picked apart with a microscope, stopping every frame, the wedding party didn't see or hear anything, you guys, nothing at all. And I told him I would do my best to try to give them privacy and let people know that, you know, authorities talk to them. The father of the groom gave a detailed list to authorities of which people stayed at what cabins and which lodge and everything. Nobody camped outside. Not one of those guests camped in a tent outside. They were all either in the lodge partying, they were listening to music, they were dancing, or they were in their cabins or in the bigger building, the lodge. And I still have a very hard time believing nobody heard anything. Not one person went out for a cigarette or go smoke a doobie or anything. Nobody decided to walk around, and I thought maybe somebody walked down there. But
Even
you know, maybe
stuff associated with being at a wedding and staying up late or anything like that. Jason, is there anything that you think is important that the audience here should know or could help you guys with? What do you and Sean need other than the photography and video? I mean, I know that's the most important thing, but let me just ask you that.
Well, I would probably say one of the things that might be helpful is for everybody out in the great white web to not contact locals anymore, because when somebody gets that idea, probably 50 others have also, and then the person that actually can get the information and put to use doesn't have that luxury of talking to them now, because they've already been agitated by 50 other people, and some got some death threats, and others are being annoyed and harassing their children and things like that. So I don't think anybody in the local community has anything to offer now. So all that effort that was done before has already outlived its usefulness. We're trying to find video and whatnot from people that were visiting, the tourists that stopped by Moab at that time frame. So the locals themselves, the 3,000 people that live there, they've been tapped for whatever information they have. And if they get a spark of an idea, they can definitely reach out to Sean Paul or myself, or even you guys. Your names are out there. People know about you guys. And some of these other people have already been in contact, these other channels, Pascal and, All American Dreamcatcher. They can contact any one of us. Let's let them reach out to us rather than us try and beat down their door or ring their phone off.
And he's right. I mean, we saw it happen. We saw Woody's clam up. Now I can't even call Woody's people. I know the owners. I know I want to ask for footage. I want clarification who the young couple was shooting pool, blah, blah, blah. My friend who works there can't even ask him questions anymore. So, I mean, locals are having a hard time scrambling around, even asking each other things anymore. So I agree with Jason. I think that what the general public should be looking for is maybe a bad guy with a 9mm.
Yeah. The 9mm is
Yeah, the
important.
9mm.
See,
A bad guy with a 9mm.
See, and what's
Weirdo with a car.
My example was going to rely on Woody's too, because what happened was I had just a very simple follow-up question to Woody's, and rather than getting a response to my question on Facebook, I got a leave us alone. And I look at my history, I haven't even reached them on Facebook before.
Oh, wow.
Wow. So they I'm sure that they would have helped. They would have realized it was you, but how do you know that other people didn't put? I mean, we get it all the time where people put our names and it's not us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And they're reaching out to them as if they were you. So they may have thought that you were some person that they've already reached out to. And now they're getting this. I mean, people are really weird. They're very creative out there in social media world. They really are. And
Well,
so,
and then compound that by adding in the fact that Moab is a tiny community.
yeah.
Okay, you guys, Jonathan, when you said, well, you lived there. Well, not only did I live there, but I solicited every single business. I knew every owner of every business when I would go around collecting donations for the Little Mac Memorial from when we lost Mackie Boy, Kylen's little brother. And so when I call someone in Moab, they know I'm KyCry's dad. And so I'd like to be able to call them and be able to talk to them. And it's making it kind of difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Sean Paul, this is the second tragedy your family had to deal with, and I saw an article about your son, but one thing I found admirable about you in that situation was, they wanted to, I guess, press charges on who did the accident to him, but you didn't want charges pressed. You acknowledged it's an accident. You said, I don't want to take away someone else's family. So
okay,
I thought that was
check this out, Jonathan. Check out what I learned. I kind of screwed up a little bit on that. Okay.
Why is that?
Well, let me explain it to you. Now, when the FBI came to me on Kylen and Crystal and they said, hey, if we find the bad guy, what do you want us to do? I said, I want you to put him to death. I want to enact a death penalty and I want to have him killed. Okay. Now, believe it or not, that may not be kind of like what I actually have in my core fundamental beliefs. You know, it's just like I melted down all my guns after Mackie was killed. But let me just tell you what I mean, okay? We took the stance that this was Mackie's friend, and we don't want him to go to prison for life or be put to death. We don't want him to serve 20 years. We'd rather see him do some counseling and some community service. Well, because we took such a light stance, for God's sakes, at the end, they handed the lad his gun back and said justifiable homicide. And he walked out of the courtroom and never had to do counseling or community service or anything. Okay. So now you have to look at the gauge. Okay. So I told them, oh, no, don't kill this boy. He was Mackie's friend. Well, then that's where the charges, there were no charges. So now I'm like, oh yeah, definitely murder this bastard, you know, and maybe the charges, maybe he'll get life. I don't know. But I learned a long 7 years ago that you don't really, you know, you kind of have to bluff a little bit on that. I wish I would have told him, put that kid to death. Put him in the electric chair. He never should have pulled the trigger and killed Mackie. And then maybe he would have got counseling and community service.
I guess you're saying.
Yeah. Just a quick question. Do either of you guys plan on going back to Moab? Doing a clue box, anything?
Oh, 100%. We'll be there eventually. You know, it's not practical to go right now.
Right now, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
St. Paul's probably snowed in Montana, and it's the winter time.
Well, this is the most affordable time to go to Moab.
Oh yeah, for sure. But there's no purpose that drags me there right this minute.
No, me neither.
Well, I take that back. Remember the clue that you just mentioned 2 days ago? I said I would go down there and in the next few days to retrieve some documents that she was taking.
Right.
She had screenshots that she wanted to print off for me. So I do have to go down there in the next few days.
And I'll be down there in the spring. Keep in mind, I still have my storage unit. I still have to go through all the girls' stuff. I still have to close the probate. I have to deal with Kylen's estate. I have to deal with the vehicle that's covered with all the fingerprint powder. I have to deal with the Harley. There's still money owed on the Harley. Now the Harley's in storage unit. I still have to go through and send Crystal's stuff to her mother. I sent her 2 boxes of stuff that I was able to sift through, but there's 20.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned Crystal's mother. Do you guys communicate since this tragedy happened often, if at all? Do you guys talk?
Yes. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Now, I did want to offer one thing to you. We love you guys. We do. Diane, you, any way we can help, if we can help any way with anything, you just let us know, whether it's getting stuff to, I mean, we would be willing to drive there to get stuff over to Arkansas if it needed to be. I mean, we are willing to do that.
We will do that.
We will do whatever. If you guys need help in any way, we are happy to help in any way that we can. I mean, my heart, it really
now
breaks.
keep in mind, you guys, now that you guys have helped us immensely, not just now, but you know, I also know because every day I would look on the GoFundMe to see if the bad guy or a name that was on my list contributed to that GoFundMe. So I saw every donation come in. I carefully reviewed every name. I saw all the anonymous donations come in, and I know that a lot of people have already helped us with that, with some of those things, you guys. So I mean, I have money in the GoFundMe to ship Crystal's things to her mother. But some of these things aren't going to be handled until after stuff is done. Like, I mean, you know, they still owe for the tires that were on their van. You know, I mean, just all kinds of crazy stuff.
The stuff people don't think about, you know.
Stuff people don't think about.
And you got to take care of all of it.
Every single bit of it. As the executor of this state, I need to close it all off and make sure that those fine people, those people I know the tire guy. I know him very well.
Right.
And you know, he would tell me, "Oh, Sean Paul, don't you worry. I got these girls covered. We'll take care of it next spring when you get back." And once again, I'd say, "Thanks, my man. You're helping me look after my girls." And same with Tanya. You know, Tanya was like the girl's own personal bank. I mean, she'd help them finance the Harley. She'd help them buy food. I mean, even if Crystal was out of cigarettes, because Tanya was a smoker too, she'd help her buy a couple pack of cigarettes and put it on their bill. So, I mean, these are actual real friends. They're real family. They're associates and people that are in a small town that I lived for 8 years and was active in the community for 8 years. So I mean, it's a small town. It'd be like going to Mayberry, and you know, Barney Fife knows, you know, who makes the best pie in town. That's the way it is in Moab. Not with the tourists, but like right now in the middle of drop dead winter, it's sweet little tiny Mayberry, and all the little townsfolks love being able to make a left turn, love the fact that there's no lines at the grocery stores, and they all love each other and they cherish each other. It's a really tight knit little community. So
yes,
I guess I went off on a rant there.
Paul, let's just go back to Woody's for a second. Do you think it's possible that Kylen and Crystal, somebody followed them from wherever they were in town that night, or they picked somebody up and brought them back to them to the camp?
No way in hell, and I'll tell you why. Because they stopped at their friend's house on the way home, and their friend took the time to feed them, visit with them. They also mentioned the creeper to their friend. And you guys, let's face it, the creeper did not have to follow them up the mountain on Friday the 13th. What the hell? He already knew where they were on the 12th or the 11th or maybe even the 10th. So didn't have to be like Brian Laundrie found a car and followed the girls up the hill. Hell no. Whoever it was already up there.
Mm-hmm. I have a question, Sean Paul, and Jason, about the water, the Gatorade bottles, because we asked some of the friends of the girls if they drink Gatorade, and they said that they didn't believe so. And do you have anything to say about that? Yeah. No,
they didn't drink Gatorade, but the fact of the matter is Cindy Sue could not remember if the bottles were kombucha or, you know, Arizona tea or Gatorade or water bottles. I mean, you guys, I was on the phone with her. She was there for one flash of a second to see a body. And then I didn't make her. I said, Cindy, is it Kylen? And she said, yes, I think it is. And then we're like, oh shit, you got to get out of there. What if the bad guy, I mean, this happened instantly. Yeah. You got to get the hell out of there, Cindy Sue. Don't touch anything. Don't you know, and I mean, I remember authorities said the only tracks in and out of there were Cindy Sue's because it had rained and it had hailed and it was 2-3 days of rain and hail. And I was like, come on, you guys, isn't there any tracks or any boot prints? Not a one.
Wow.
The only
did they
tracks
have-
were Cindy Sue's.
How long did they have that crime scene secured? By analyzing it, going over, like you said, tracks, if there was any, or anything that
We
know of?
don't know. We haven't been privy to any of the reports, any of the pictures. Otherwise I'd look at the picture and tell you guys what those bottles were. The only thing I can guess is as Kylen and Crystal were jumped, one of them stepped on or kicked the pallet of bottles and they flew around. One of them probably tripped on them as they were trying to flee and they flipped, or and I pictured kind of this also, which is the way I like to think of it. Kylen and Crystal were throwing them at that son of a bitch and we're hitting them with them.
Yeah, because we
Why
heard
not?
your Spitfires. We heard that both of those girls could handle their own. I mean,
Well,
on a normal day.
I think one of the things you guys wanted to ask me was my most memorable moment about Kylen. Okay. And I have 3. All right. One was when Kylen was born, it was September 5th at 5:55 in the evening. And as she was delivered and the doctor lifted her up, lightning struck out the window. I mean, scared the hell out of us. We all jumped. And then Kylen cried. So what I'm telling you is when Kylen came into the world, lightning struck. And I mean, the world was never the same. That's one of them. The second one of my favorites was seeing the look in Kylen's face when she was marrying Crystal. I can't explain it to you guys. When Kylen and Crystal got married in that tree house with me and Bev and Mike, there was 3 of us. I saw something that I've never seen before, other than maybe my mom and dad, was that the love between Kylen and Crystal at that wedding. I was so proud of Kylen. I was so happy to see her and Crystal and how they had blossomed. But I want to tell you about the third thing. It's kind of private. It's kind of personal, okay? But this is a real story. I'm going to let my guard down a little bit, and I'm going to tell you guys an interesting, honest thing that I experienced with Kylen that might be the highlight of what I remember about my baby girl. There was a time when Kylen's mom and I used to argue because I thought the kids, we should be sober and be good examples. And she, just in a nutshell, she told me I was an alcoholic the day you met me, and I'll be an alcoholic the day I die. So I kind of realized that I had to kind of make tough choices and figure out what I was going to do. And so we separated, and we used to fight like a cat and a dog all the time. Well, one time I was in the kids' mom's driveway, okay? And Mackie boy was right here to my right, and Kylen was right in front of my body. And their mom was over on the porch because she wouldn't come out and I wouldn't go in. It was one of those deals where a drop-off or a pickup was on the front porch, and we didn't communicate with each other. We just made the drop-off and I left, or pick up and I left. Well, not on this one. I made the mistake of getting out of my car, and I was talking to Mackie boy, who was to my right. And I was explaining to Mackie boy that no, that this isn't right, that you're not supposed to choose drugs and alcohol over your family. This is not right. And Kylen got right in my face. I mean, right up to my nose. and she puffed up her chest. And she said, "What the hell are you telling Mackie?" And I said, "I'm telling him that I don't want him to turn out like his goddamn mom." And you guys, I've never been hit so hard in my life. It was a left hook. Kylen was left-handed. And she came with a left hook and she blasted me in the face. And it knocked the sense into me. I've never been the same. I've never said anything negative about their mom ever again, because Kylen knocked the shit out of me, and it really hit home with me. And at first my reaction was, "Oh, that's great, Kylen. Now you're going to go to jail for assault." But then I thought, God, I'm an asshole, and God, I can't believe I said that in front of Kylen and Mac about their mom. And so one of the most memorable things I have is seeing a 16-year-old little girl stand up to, I'm 6'1" and I'm 240 pounds at the time. And she stood up to her dad, of all the people in the world that, I mean, God, I never stood up to my dad. Are you insane? That would be crazy talk, right? Kylen stood up to her dad to stick up for her mom and her little brother. And I just got to tell you that she had an insane inner strength. And I was really super proud of her the day that she stood up to me. And little side note, follow-up story was I found a picture of Mackie boy with a black eye. And it was his right eye. And all of a sudden it dawned on me that Mackie boy got hit with that same left hook.
I don't mean to laugh.
And I asked Kylen, I said, "Kylen, I know about that. Now, Mackie was dead." I said, "Kylen, I saw that picture of that black eye, and I know about your left hook." And oh man, her brain, she went back. And I mean, she was just like, "Yeah, you're probably right, Dad." It was just, so, yeah, I picture her. In fact, I told Jason, maybe 3 months ago, we're looking for a guy with a 9mm and a black eye on his right eye, because it was a left hook that came out of nowhere. So there's something really super private and personal.
I mean, we're talking about the story. That very would could be a clue. Maybe sitting out talking to people about it if they seen anybody walking around with a black eye in the area around that time.
Well, I got to tell you, the FBI did a pretty damn thorough profile sheet with me. It was 10, 12 pages long of a profile sheet that I sat down with the FBI and they're like, because we don't have any solid leads, we need to do this profile aspect. And I was pretty impressed with some of the things that came up and that we talked about, and that really might have given them some insight on what the girls were like,
Yeah. How many FBI agents are involved that you know of, like you sat down with when you did that?
I've only ever seen one.
One. Interesting.
I don't think the FBI had boots on the ground, Jonathan. I think, the FBI was never put in charge of the case. Grand County Sheriff's Office is still in charge of the case. The reason they said FBI was because so many different clues and cases crossed over multiple state lines that when they invited the FBI, they had to come in on it and let them use their data and their data banks and all their DNA and all their fingerprints and all their ballistic stuff. But it's not like here comes the cavalry and all of a sudden there's 10 or 12 guys with boots on the ground investigating the crime scene and all of that. It wasn't like that at all.
So Grand County Sheriff are the lead investigators in this case.
Correct.
Have you spoke to Sheriff White, Grand County lead sheriff, at all?
Yeah, I spoke to him one time, but he's not the person that's assigned to me.
Yeah.
Initially it was the lieutenant there, and then because the lieutenant there is not very techy, he was more of a flip phone kind of a guy, which leads me to believe he's more like me. He's less techy. I was like, well, I'm sending this guy clues faster than he can process them. And the undersheriff told me, he said, oh, hell no, you need to be sending stuff to me. I'm the tech wizard on this case. And I was like,
Yeah,
well, now you tell me.
We spoke to that lieutenant too in his office. We had to go to his office.
Don't worry.
So
Yeah.
once I learned to just go right over the lieutenant's head and go to the sheriff's deputy that was techie, I never went back to the other guy because I was kind of offended by his, you know, I mean, on day 16, he's asking me which one works at Moonflower and which one works at McDonald's. And I'm like, what? 2 weeks later, you're at what? Are you being serious right now? Because I mean, I was pissed. And then 3 days later, he's asking me if the name Carr means anything to me. And I'm like, you're just now getting to the family circle? I'll tell you what, why don't you ask me who everyone in the family is? And then I can help you complete the family circle so you can go try to solve this. I mean, I was pulling my hair out with just slow and apt service until I was put in contact with the undersheriff, who is the bomb, who is the I mean, I was in his office and he pulled up on a huge screen instantly and was able to show me with the laser so I could show him where those people found the key with the key fob that was found up at the crime scene. And I was like, this is the guy I need to talk to.
Whatever happened after that, the key that you just described, like what came of that, you know?
Well, it wasn't Brian Laundrie's key.
Thanks for clarifying that.
It was one key, what would be like a gym locker key. It had 2 fobs or tags on it that would have like a reader code on the back that would beep in whoever the member was to go into the climbing gym. They were both climbing gyms. Luckily for me, one of my angels, now my angels were my first cousins and my sister, and I was like Charlie's angels, okay? And my angels, as soon as I sent them pictures of the key fobs, my first cousin in Tyler, Texas said, what the hell, Sean Paul, that gym's in Tyler. It's here. I'm here. And she went to the gym. And it was closed and it was foreclosed on, and all the computers were in this stupid foreclosure jail, and there was no way for us to find out who the member was on that key fob. So then we looked and looked and looked for the very vague second key fob, trying to match the logo up with a climbing gym. And I mean, I started in Texas because the first one was from Tyler. Then I moved to Florida because Brian Laundrie was sometimes climbed and he was out of Florida. Then I searched Moab, and we just kept growing and growing. And we searched all around trying to find this gym, and we couldn't find it. So we started to panic after a week, and I started to think, shit, this stuff's time sensitive. We need this information right away. So we decided to go ahead and post on a rock climbing website, a short, quick, brief post. And someone responded and said, hey, I know that gym. And I was like, oh my God, are you serious? So I called the gym. And the owner, I think his name was Sean. I think he had the same name as me. And I talked to Sean and I said, I told him what was going to happen, and that he told me the name of the person on the key fob, that I was already texting it to law enforcement. And that if he gave me that information, that I promised that I would give him anonymity and try to erase any trail that led to him, because I didn't want what happened to Woody's to now happen to this guy.
Right. Exactly.
So what I did was I told him exactly what was going to happen. And I told him that it's only me and the lead investigator at the sheriff's office that's going to instantly have this information. So I said, so do you think you would be willing to give it to me? And he said, well, it's old computers and it's the old system, but let me see if it'll boot up. And he booted it up, and I'll be damned, he was able to give me name, address, phone number, secondary phone number, emergency contact, everything. So I immediately went on my Facebook. Now, you guys don't really have the luxury of Sean Paul's Facebook, but you know, when you punch in a name and it searches the algorithms for the name, well, guess what? When I do that, it pops up the guy in Moab. It doesn't pop up some random dude in New York or Texas or wherever. It pops up the one that I know and my friends know, and we have all these people in common. So often, if Jason and I get a lead, the first thing we'll do is put him in my Facebook.
Yeah, because you're probably originally from there, and the algorithm takes you to Moab. All the
You know, I've been there for 9 years, and so the algorithm takes me to people associated with Moab. So the guy pops up. On my Facebook. I watch a few videos of the dude, and all of a sudden, he's sitting on the front bumper of his car right next to his license plate number. And I'm like, I mean, I got him lock, stock, and barrel. Everything I have on this guy, name, address, phone number, date of birth, even his license plate number and the type of car he's driving. So I call the sheriff's office and I says, hey guys, you know those key fobs I turned in? And they said to me, yeah, we know that Jim's been in foreclosure for 2 years. And I said, you goofballs. Now, do you want to know the name of the guy on the key fob that you don't know? Because I have his name, his address, his phone number, his date of birth, even his license plate number. And they were like, yeah, we want that. And so I sent it to him, you know. But I mean, it was pretty interesting that my angels were able to best the authorities by a week. So turns out
because you're just passionate for answers. I mean, you're down there like a loving father should do. Any
Right.
loving father. You went right down to their scene and you were trying to find answers. The clue booth in Swanee Park. You know, asking around. I mean, you did what any loving father should do. I mean, that's very important. Let me ask you something, Sean or Jason. You know, we hear a lot of rumors online about a flute guy. What's your take on a possible guy with a flute that could be involved?
Well, the guy who dropped the keys played a flute.
What?
The guy who dropped the key fobs played a flute.
Yes.
Wow.
A pan flute. Now, it would be awful interesting if this ends up being our bad guy. Now, remember, you guys, I can't now call the sheriffs and say, hey, remember that guy I turned into you? Do you got DNA matched yet? Did you arrest him? They won't tell me anything.
Right. Yeah. Well, we understand that better than anybody.
Yeah.
So if you could change a law in Utah, if you could change a law in Utah and create a law maybe for your daughter and Crystal, what would it be and what would it center around?
Well, I think that what I would do is I would want to set up an Amber Alert type of a system that people could opt in or opt out on. The reason I'm saying that is because everybody says the reason there's no Amber Alert on the phone when people come up missing is because oftentimes it's an adult who's either off their medication and wandered off, or they went to Vegas, or they're cheating on their wife and they just haven't seen him for the weekend, and nobody knows what, it's so many different crazy random reasons why an adult goes up missing that you can't sit there and have a beep on everybody's phone every time someone comes up missing.
Right.
But wouldn't it be neat if conscious people with a conscience, people who maybe have been through trauma or certain things would want to get, but would opt in and say, you know what? Yeah, I would like to have my phone beep if someone comes up missing. I would. Look at me. I'd be the first one in line to opt in for that. And I bet you, I'm almost 100% sure, I bet you Gabby's dad would say the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd opt in on it. I bet he would. I bet a lot of people would. I bet millions of people would. And then maybe we could find missing persons faster.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, that is important because, there's a time frame.
Time is of the essence.
Time is always of the essence.
All of these clues are time sensitive to the max
absolutely.
because the bad guy is hauling ass away from there.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Jason, is there any final words or anything that you would like to say related to this case? I know we went over a couple things that I thought that needed to, but we've talked since then, and I didn't know if anything sparked anything new for you.
Yeah, I mean, basically where we're at now and what kind of public involvement we would like to have is spread the word that if anybody listening to the story knows of somebody that visited in the area, not that they suspect of being a criminal or a murderer, but that they know they were here. Okay, so they could be a witness, not just a suspect, but anybody that was here in that time frame from August 10th to, even to the 18th. We would like to talk to them. Maybe they saw something, maybe they took footage of something, but also maybe out of conscience check, they would like to share that name just so we could vet them to see if, they fit a profile, because we don't know everybody's inner demons. We don't know what someone's capable of doing with the right combination of either some substance or some anger issue, or, maybe they had some tragedy or even a brain injury. So we don't know what triggered this to happen that night. So clearly, if they know of somebody that was here in that time frame, share their name. If they are so kind to give us contact information, give us something to follow up on and just see if they saw something.
Yeah, because I always say, sometimes it's that, when you hear these stories, you don't think of it at the time, but hindsight's 2020, and it always might be just that little nugget, that little nugget that breaks something wide open. And
look at how much a color of a car would help us.
Yeah.
Right,
because there's footage. They could look at the ring videos from the fancy neighborhoods. They could look at the highway footage, the stoplight footage, and maybe they could see that car go get groceries and stop and buy underwear. Who knows what the guy was getting, food and clothing,
Yeah.
Andrea, earlier you had asked Sean Paul if we were looking for a blue car, and a lot of that mystery or that intrigue that the web has picked up on was actually me suggesting a blue car. And that was before I realized that one of those persons of interest were driving a blue car. It was a combination of what Cindy Sue had seen
Mhm.
as a suggestion, but more it was the fact that obviously from a satellite image, if they saw a vehicle color other than white, black, gray, or silver, it'd be more identifiable of an individual's vehicle than black, white, gray, or silver,
Right.
because those four colors make up 85%
Yeah.
of the market out there. So
Yep.
most people have white, black, gray, or silver vehicles. So if you got that lime green Dodge Challenger, that car's more readily identifiable than a white Honda.
Right.
You know, everybody's got
Agreed.
a white Honda.
Right.
So
Well, guys,
when I suggested looking for a blue car is because when you're looking from the satellite, something like a blue image would stand out more than if it was a white image.
But also, you guys, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that the first kid, the very first day that police pulled over, detained, and released was in a little blue Subaru.
Mhm.
So I
That's what
think
we heard
maybe
too.
the very first person that they questioned, I think he was even right at the Moonflower, or he worked there, or he was
Yeah, we were
parked
told that
in
too.
front of. I think the very first person that was detained and questioned drove a little blue Subaru. And I also think that another one of the suspects, one of the ones that the names was flying all over the place, drove a little blue car as well.
Yes.
So a little blue car definitely would have came up a couple of times. Plus, Cindy Sue, when she was up there at the crime scene and found the girls, the guy that drove by, that was also what she said she thought was a blue car.
Mhm.
So interestingly enough, 3 blue cars that I know of
Yep.
that were either looked into or pulled over or questioned or whatever.
Do you know
And
any
that part
information?
we don't know. We don't know, you guys, the rest of did they question them? Did they check their DNA? Did they check their fingerprints? Hell, if we know, we hope so.
Yeah, the guy that got detained, like you said, by the Moonflower, we were also told that too. Do you know why he was detained and why he was let go right away quickly? Did he have an alibi?
This is what I think, Jonathan, but I sure as hell don't know. What I think was immediately someone said, "Oh, well, check Joe Blow. He's a weirdo," and he was right there.
Yeah.
So they checked Joe Blow, the weirdo name, which popped up twice right away. I can't remember if they thought he crushed on Kylen or he worked with at the Moonflower. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I believe that police instantly pulled him in and then probably instantly checked him for gun residue or prints or ballistic DNA. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they just questioned him and let him go. Maybe he had an alibi. I don't know what happened, but I think he was just pulled over right away and was released pretty quickly.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
Well, guys, thank you for coming on. We really appreciate taking the time, and we will share this out on our platforms. We're going to keep the names out there. Anything that we gather by hashtagging people sending us information, we'll send it to you, Jason. You can send it over to Sean and the proper authorities. We're just trying to help and make a difference and try to bring awareness to this tragedy.
And I want to let everybody know that we're not looking, when you call law enforcement or Jason Jensen, we are not looking for speculation. Trust me, every possible speculation, story, scenario has been thought of, they need, persons, they need firsthand knowledge. They need people with cameras, keep people with videos. They don't, the speculation aspect is done and over with. The speculation is over. They need hard, concrete evidence, videos, photos, anything like that. It's no disrespect to anybody, but trust me, every angle of speculation has been looked at. It really, truly has. So we just want, videos, photographs, and people that could, provide information. That's
Leads
what they
on
really
leads
need.
on 9mm weirdos. We want
Yep.
leads on 9mm weirdos.
Anybody with 9mm guns in and around Moab, we'd like their name, please.
Yeah.
And in and around Moab is 3 or 4 hours away,
Yeah.
because I mean, when you look at where they were on the mountain,
Mhm.
you know, I mean, what if this entire investigation was in Colorado instead of Utah? It's a stone's throw over the border.
Yeah.
That's true.
So what you're saying, Sean, is also include Western Colorado in this radius.
Oh, 100%. Yes.
Monticello's not out of the
Yeah, Monticello.
is not out of the picture either. Anybody from Monticello could very well have some information that may benefit this case. So
Cortez,
Absolutely.
Grand
Dove
Junction.
Creek. Yep. All of those little towns all along between Cortez and Monticello, everything, you know, even the little ones, what are they called? The one with the car museum, and even up to Grand Junction. I
Yeah.
mean, let's face it, when the girls would go for the weekend to go goof off, they'd either go to Cortez or Grand Junction. I mean, that's how close it is for Moab. We wouldn't even go to somewhere in Utah. We'd just right over to the Walmart in Cortez or shopping in Grand Junction. But one thing I want to say before we go, you guys, is kind of for everybody out there, you know, it's a new year and it's and stuff. And it goes on with what you were saying. Let's keep these facts crystal clear. Okay. Let's focus. Let's not repeat the same things over and over. Let's get good, crystal clear facts. And once again, I just can't get it out of my mind. We all need to be Kylen kind. We need to be kind to each other. KYND. Kylen kind. Kylen smiling. Kylen and Crystal's light needs to burn on. So be nice to each other. Be nice to law enforcement, FBI, JJ, the mob. Be nice to the dog. Be nice to John Walsh. I mean, come on, everybody. Let's be kind to each other. Let's get our facts crystal clear. Let's see if we can all join together.
So I've got the band. Yep. So I just want to read it for everybody. It says, "Shine like crystal, be kind."
Show it in the camera.
Indeed.
Show it in the camera.
Shine like crystal
You're not
and
kidding.
be kind.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Hey, Sean Paul, speaking of the dog, is the dog coming? I heard rumors that you've spoken to him.
I don't know what he's doing. I've talked to him so many times. I've texted him. We've messaged each other. He's trying to get the networks to bite on this new show, Dog and the Essentials, and make the Kylen and Crystal case the pilot for this new series. What the dog told me personally was, Sean Paul, I don't care if the networks don't pay for it. I'm putting up my money and we're coming to help.
Nice.
Nice.
It would definitely bring
So,
publicity to the case.
Publicity.
Any
Yep.
bit of publicity from the dog, that helps us.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. How about John Walsh? Spoke to John Walsh?
This is the next, I think it's the next step for everybody. I mean, we're seeing contact with his people. We're seeing messages left on their platform. I was reading through the messages on John Walsh's platform. Some of them had 3 or 4 comments. Some of them had 10 to 15 comments. The Kylen and Crystal one, last time I looked, it had over 50 comments. So I think if John Walsh's crew is filtering through cases, they probably have something there that tells them which one is getting the most pings. So go on the In Pursuit thing and comment. I did it today. People are doing it. And hopefully John Walsh will watch a clip and all of a sudden be like, oh my God, we got to help these girls.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, God, be strong. Justice is coming.
Yeah.
Jason, thank you for everything you do.
Everything. Thank you for everything. It's been great.
Work. And Sean
Thanks
Paul's
for all you guys do. You guys have done a lot.
And Jason, thanks for being there for me.
Yeah, you guys are God
Hey,
sent. We are praying
have you-
for your family.
Have you two met? Have you and Jason met in person?
so many times.
Okay. I was just wondering. I know because you guys are out of.
Here's the thing, okay? Jason and I
dropped
were
everything
together.
and went straight down there that very day.
Jason and I communicate every single day, way too often. If you were to ask our families, they would say, all right, enough with the bromance. Come on, you guys. We're supposed to be going and doing opening presents and doing Christmas and going out. I've heard Jason on the phone before, and I'm like, Jason, I'm so sorry. I hear you talking to your family. My family's here too. We got to go. We got to stop. It's hours. It's hours. And Jason's been my crutch, you guys. I mean, honestly, I was lost.
He's a great guy.
At the end of my time in Moab, after 30 days of doing the clue booth, I was really coming unraveled. I was really coming unraveled. I was feeling myself going to lose it. I was feeling myself going to cocoon in that little storage unit and shut the door and not deal with it anymore. It was weird. I had to break the habit of going to the clue booth and going to the picnic table. Then I had to break the habit of going to the storage unit and going through stuff. And when Jason came, all of a sudden I was able to just be like, you know, can you really handle all of these clues and all of this insanity and all of my unorganized clues and notes and all this stuff? And can I go back home to Montana? And Jason said, yes, go home.
Jason's a blessing.
Yeah.
Just
And I was like, oh my God, thank you so much, Jason, for being there for me. Really, thank you
Great
so
guy.
much.
All around. I just,
Winter
it
was
really does take a
coming
lot
and
of
you
great
needed to Go
people.
home and hug your wife.
Mhm.
And see your
Yeah.
kids. Fine.
Yeah.
Thank
All right,
goodness.
stay strong. Maybe you guys come back in the future of any
Yeah,
updates.
we would
Yeah.
love to have you guys back. You guys
Mhm,
are
thank you so
amazing.
much.
Please stay strong. We
Stay
are praying
strong.
for you. And if you ever need anything, I can tell you, us three will always be there. We would drop
Yes.
everything in a heartbeat, just like that.
Mhm.
So,
Thanks,
Thank
you
you,
guys.
Oh,
Oh
it's
yeah, beautiful.
oh, that's
Wow.
beautiful.
Aw.
Oh, yeah.
Aw.
Let
Beautiful.
me show you guys a couple things real quick, just for fun, okay?
Absolutely.
KyCry rocks, you know, some of Kylen's rocks that she made.
Oh, those are
Those are
nice.
so
Those are
beautiful.
very
Check
beautiful.
this out. I don't know if you guys have heard about the new card company that has all the fold-out cards and all this and that.
Oh yeah.
I have
got
not.
sunflowers. They're so beautiful they never die. These sunflowers are paper.
It's really neat.
Aw.
That's really neat.
This is probably the best dollar rock Kylen ever made. This one's
Oh,
Oh,
I
that's
like that.
beautiful. Oh
That's
my
way cool.
gosh.
And so when you think of Kylen's dollar rocks,
Wow.
hers are like spectacular.
Wow.
Mine are more like this.
Well, that's
That's
still
still not
pretty
bad.
good. I like that.
But Kylen's just blow you away. I mean, they're
Those are
ridiculous.
so beautiful.
Oh, look at that one.
Yeah. And then a couple other cool things like the Lanky Bunny that the gal online here sent me. A super kind lady, you know, she wants to be anonymous, but the super kind lady knew that I was looking for Blanky Bunny to go with Blanky Elephant. So here's Mackie's Blanky Elephant that he snuggled with when he was a little baby. He just wore the felt right off of it. And then Kylen had Blanky Bunny, and the lady sent me Blanky Bunny, and I mean, it's actually from 1984. So this is really the retro one from 1994. So this is the one that Kylen actually had, the Lovey Blanky Bunny that she snuggled with and wore all the silk off of, rubbing that silk on her lips and stuff as a little baby. And so, you know, Blanky Bunny and Blanky Elephant are back together again here, okay?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so sweet.
That's sweet. You know.
Aw.
Wow. I really can't even imagine, you know. I don't know how
I wouldn't want you to. I wouldn't want anyone to. I wouldn't want my worst enemy to experience losing a child. It's very unnatural. It's not right. Things happen like a grandpa loses his favorite golfing buddy, you know, like the one boy that used to go golfing with grandpa. Of all the cousins, the one that used to go golfing with grandpa.
Yeah.
Or you know, losing a daughter. Imagine how Kylen and Mackie's mom feels. Oh my God. If you think I'm hurting you guys, I have 3 more kids to live for.
Yeah.
She doesn't. She lost both her babies. Oh my God. So I'm blessed to still have kids to live for, and hopefully someday I'll have grandkids. You know, Kylen lost baby Blake, and that's a totally different tragic story. But I'm still here. I gain mana from my children. I have the will to go on. I've been sober for, I don't know, 15 or 20 years. I've been sober, so thank God that's helped me.
Congratulations on that. Congratulations.
And so, you know, I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. I'd like to be able to bring some good news to the family this year. That'd be great. You know, let's catch this bad guy and let's see if we can't maybe open a new chapter of this book, the part that has to do with healing. You know, I don't believe that the girls are resting in peace right now. I do not believe Kylen and Crystal are resting in peace right now. That's my personal belief, and I want to put them to rest. I want them to be able to rest in peace. So I plead to everyone around the world to help us solve this case. Send us in whatever tiny tidbits you have and help us catch this killer. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you guys. Thank you, Jason. Thank you. I appreciate everything. Have a great night.
You too.
Stay strong.
Thanks.
All right. So appreciate them coming on. That was you know, good insight.
I started watering and I didn't mean to, you know, and I just had to step away because that's so powerful. And once the tear, just one little tear was in there, but it made the mascara run into the eye, and my eye was just, it was bad. So,
you know, everyone out there, just share this video, bring awareness, keep hashtagging their names, you know, and keep the spotlight on this case. Don't let it go cold. You know? And we will do what we can, you know, what we do to keep it out there.
We are planning on making another trip back out there. You know, obviously you know, not sure that any local is going to be able to provide any information, just to follow up. You know, we did the you know, fact-finding mission when we went back there the first time, but all that snow was coming in. We knew that mountain was going to be closed down. You know, right now is not the right time to be going to Utah to look at any more questions we have, because, you know, the mountain's closed. It's just too cold. It's snowing. It's, you know, we got the whole host of elements are going on there right now that would prevent any work that we could possibly do right now out there.
Yeah. Well, good work, guys. We'll be in touch. You know, we got a busy week in the next couple of days. You know, helping Summer Wells case. You know, up in Tennessee. But yeah, we will not. You know, we won't forget about Kylen and.
Oh, and I also wanted to say, guys, I knew there was some super chats in there. I do appreciate that, but. You know, a couple of them, especially with the rape and the sexual assault type aspects, I did not want to put them up. I do apologize, but, you know, we did discuss, you know, what approved questions we would have, and I didn't want to upset the father. As you can imagine, you know, some of these questions are very touchy. I think if he thought that, I mean, he was very open and honest and transparent with what he could be transparent with. If he thought that there was an angle like that, I'm pretty sure he would have, you know, told us. So I do apologize about that. It wasn't that your questions were bad or anything like that. Normally I wouldn't have a problem, but just with this particular case and knowing how sensitive of certain aspects and subjects were, I just didn't want to go there. I hope you understand.
All right, guys.
Okay. All right.
Jonathan, thank you so much
thanks,
for coming
Jonathan.
on.
Thank you,
And
everybody.
you have a wonderful evening. I appreciate it.
Bye. Okay, guys. Well, I think that's a wrap. Again,
Oh, hold on. Wait. What? Yeah, Andrew, please answer your mods. People are asking where to purchase the blanket. We got this from a private person at a store that was next to the Moonflower. What was the gal's name and what was it? Arrowhead?
Oh, Jolynn.
Jolynn
gave them to us, but I don't.
If she had them for sale in her store.
I have to ask her.
Yeah, we'll ask and get back to you about, you know, possibility of getting them. If you guys want to help sponsor or support. Now, what I did do is in the description of this, Diane Brooks, which is Crystal Turner's cousin, it has a GoFundMe page. They're trying to get some aerial footage. They're trying to get this. They're trying to get that. And so, you know, if you guys want to contribute or help in any way, we did post that in the description of this video. And the people that, you know, as this gets shared around, if you guys would like to contribute to this GoFundMe, anybody, you know, $1, $2, anything, it helps build the fund. So just anybody watching this, please go to the description, find it. I want to thank you all for being here. As you can understand, this is a father that has been through pure hell. Second child. This is his second child. One was shot. Both of them have been shot.
It's so sad.
Okay. So to see him in, you know, being able to form complete sentences is a miracle in and of itself. And I've always told you, God puts people in your life when you need them. Exactly. And I truly do believe Jason Jensen is doing God's work and has been placed and put in Sean Schulte's life. So, you know, we have to support and give thanks to Jason Jensen. You got to remember, he's doing this pro bono. He's really had to, you know, this is all on his expense, and he has been with him this entire time. And you're talking about, you know, Sean is talking about, you know, being on the phone almost every day with him for hours. I mean, this is a true person that really just wants to help find answers for Sean, help him heal, help him move on with his life. It is an amazing journey. So I just want to thank you guys all again for being here. We're going on 2 hours, and I love and appreciate every one of you. And if you have not had an opportunity to call your family or give them a hug, maybe tonight's a great night. It really is.
That is true. But yeah, I'm actually going to go live now on my YouTube page. I haven't gone live in like a week, so I'm going to go live now.
Okay.
We can fool around on there.
All right, guys. Well, I love you, and God bless.
Bye, guys. Thank you so much for watching.
I'm going to leave. I'm just going to pull myself off. I know you guys like to sit here and chit chat and say bye to everybody before we do. And I'm just going to pull myself off here, let you guys say your goodbyes before I end the broadcast. Totally. All right. Love you guys. We'll see you in the morning for coffee, for our coffee club. God bless.